Welcome to the 5 P's of Classroom Management. My name is Damian Theodore, and I am a third year math teacher at Dr. John Oshner Discovery. I am also the community leader at the Community Works after school program at Dr. John Oshner Discovery. I started with Community Works as a chess instructor, and I have over 10 years of teaching experience.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dylan Davidson. I started as a photography instructor with Community Works, and I'm currently serving as a community coordinator for Community Works after school program at DJOD. I'm also a senior psych student at UNO, and I'm volunteering in a neuroscience lab this semester.
Before we continue on, we want you to take a look at this video. It is an interpretation of a poem by Miss Miriam Williamson called Our Deepest Fear.
Sir, they can cut the chain off the door, but they can't make us play.
We've decided we're gonna finish what you started, sir.
Yeah, so leave us be, coach. We got shit to do, sir.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Sir, I just want to say thank you. You saved my life.
Thank you, sirs. All of you.
All right, thank you so much. So when I think of like the reason why we chose Our Deepest Fear to start off our PD with is because it touches on a number of things, but the biggest one for us is letting your light shine so that others around you can feel comfortable with shining. As you let your light shine, you unconsciously give others around you permission to do the same. So, what I want you to think about throughout this PD is what is your light and how brightly is it shining at your specific site? All right. So, up next, we're going to talk about our agenda. We're going to talk about our agenda. We're going to start off with talking about the 5 P's and what exactly are the 5 P's. We're going to talk in detail about each one of them: prompt, prepared, production, polite, and position. And specifically, what does that mean for you as a teaching artist? We're also going to talk about attention getters, and at the end, we're going to have an exit ticket.
So, the first question I always ask when I heard about the 5 P's dealing with classroom management is what is classroom management? So, classroom management is a strategies that teachers use to keep students focused and on task. It involves creating a positive learning environment and responding to behavioral issues. The goals of classroom management are reducing disruptions and bad behavior, creating a safe and fun learning environment, prioritizing learning time, and establishing opportunities for growth. Now, with reducing disruptions and bad behavior, we're going to get into it with the 5 P's, but that's as simple as creating a positive classroom environment where bad behavior is swayed or actively prevented before it happens, so that we all have more time to learn and more time to teach as artists.
As we progress throughout this PD, we want you to keep in mind one rule, and we're calling it the golden rule. Don't expect something of your young artist that you wouldn't expect of yourself. Simply put, if you know that you can't sit still for 45 minutes while someone lectures to you, don't expect our young artists to do the same thing, because they don't have the experience and the training that you have. So how can we expect them to do something that we can't do? So let's keep that in mind as we're coming up with our projects and we're thinking about specifically what classroom management is. We don't want to expect something from our young artists that we wouldn't expect of ourselves. Now, we say we're going to talk about the 5 P's. Once again, the 5 P's of classroom management is prompt, productive, position, prepared, and polite. We're going to go through all 5 of these things, but this does not look one way in every class. You need to adjust it based on your classroom and specifically what your specific discipline is. First up, we're going to be talking about prompt and what it means to be prompt. That is readiness in all aspects of your daily tasks. First of all, one way that being prompt can help you out with classroom management is the completion of your curriculum. If you have a plan or an outline of what you expect to do, and you take your time with your curriculum, a completed curriculum could help you with classroom management. It makes you look more organized and more timely with things that you need to deliver. Also, if you have certain things that you need to hit, so certain objectives that you need to hit, that from your curriculum. So for instance, I mentioned that I was a chess teacher. As a chess teacher, I know that I cannot just go and start playing chess like similar to checkers. I can't say red moves 1 square, black moves 1 square. Like, each of these pieces have a different function. And so I know that I have to talk about all those things and take my time with all of them to talk about how the bishop moves versus how the knight moves, and what is a beginning game versus the end game, and what are the 3 things that you want to do in the opening. I have to talk about all those things, and having a completed curriculum helps me understand that. Arrival to campus. We are all pretty sure scheduled to get to work 15 minutes prior to our students arriving. The purpose for that is for us to get our materials ready. Use that time to get any copies that you need, to get any material that you need, because that is another way of being prompt and prepared for your students when they come in. Getting there for 3:15 means arriving in the cafeteria. Well, for us at DGOD, it's a cafeteria that we meet in. So it's being at that work location at 3:15, ready to receive students and get the things that you need to get. That's another way that you can be prompt to help you with classroom management. Creating and communicating your daily agenda. So we know what we're doing every day. Why shouldn't we let our kids know our students know what they're doing? So I would just simply get up there and say, okay, guys, we know that today we're going to be doing homework from 3:30 to 4 o'clock, from 4 to 4:45. This is specific what we're learning. Kids are going to get excited about it. They know what's coming up, and it helps them out. Also, it helps with some of our students that learn differently, right? Understanding what's to come and what's to be expected of us helps them prepare to accomplish the goals that you have for that day. So speaking to them in great detail about that agenda is something that can help with classroom management. Also, timers and the use of things like classroomscreen.com can also help keep you on track with being prompt. So you know that if 4 to 4:45 is all the time that you have, go ahead and put that time on the board so the students can see how much time they have. If they're working on an art project or a portion of an art project and you've given them 15 minutes, put that on the board for them so they can see that having those timers can help with that. The next thing is being on time all the time. We want to make sure that we're timely in everything that we do, all of our deliverables. If it's pre and post tests, having them on time. If it is different objectives that we have, being on time with it. Arriving to work, leaving work, all of that stuff, like being timely, help us with that first P of classroom management. And consistency is key, right? Our students need to see consistency. Like everyone loves consistency, knowing what to expect from you. So being consistent is another way to help with class management because our kids know what to expect and they know what your expectations are and how to deliver them. Sometimes we have to remind them, but being consistent is key. So to wrap up, being prompt as a method of classroom management, all those things that we talked about will help kids settle down a little bit more and help kids focus on your daily goals. So that's our first P, being prompt.
Our second P is prepared, or preparation and having preparedness as a tool. So it's helping, basically, I think of it as helping future you do your best by getting everything you need before you need it. Like if I know that I have an early morning, I have a lot to do, and I may not have my work shirt ready or some of my materials, I'll have those set out the night before. I'll have it pulled up on my laptop or my phone or whatever I'm using to teach that day. So that way, when I make it to my site at arrival time, I'm not scrambling trying to get everything together. Help myself out, for later. So when it comes to classroom management and preparedness, materials is very important. So if I am an art instructor, in my case, I was a photography instructor, so let's use that. If I'm teaching the different parts of the camera, I'm making sure that I have my camera in my bag, charged, set up, so that way, once we get into our classroom, our young artists are able to, have that physical piece of material. If we're drawing a camera or we're sketching something out, if we're drawing, essentially our frame that we would be looking at for that day or for that week of material, having that paper, having those pencils. If we know we need color pencils, asking our CL or our community coordinator where we can find that stuff so it'll be ready in that 3:15 to 3:30 time. Another part of preparedness is helping yourself out in the future by following your curriculum. So I know as artists, free flow and creativity that's what we're good at, right? That's what drives us. That's what gets us up in the morning to do what we want to do. So following my curriculum is an easy way for me to make sure that I'm staying on task and that we're meeting our marks, ultimately leading up to our culminating presentation. And also updating it when needed. You get to learn about your young artists, what they like, what they may not like, and you realize, okay, that thing I had planned for week 10, it's not going to work. That thing I had planned for week 4, I like it, but I think it'll be more effective this way. So don't be scared to go back and say, let's rework this a little bit. Another thing is dressing for your discipline. If I'm an artist doing physical media, say we're doing painting, oil paints, spray painting, even anything like that, I'm going to dress knowing, hey, we're going to have a little bit of a mess today. If I'm teaching science, if I'm teaching STEM stuff, I'm going to have a lab coat or some goggles so that when I walk in the classroom, my young artists understand what I'm here to teach and what it looks like to really be in that discipline. With Community Works, we're fortunate enough to not have to teach on the fly. We're afforded 2 hours of planning time every week to make sure that we won't have to guess once we get in and day out. Things can change. I know it can get hectic. It might be a weather day or the power might be out. Anything can happen. The one plan is that the plan is not gonna go according to schedule. But we can set things in place and be prepared so that we won't have to teach on the fly. Again, using those planning hours. And lastly, I want to leave y'all with this when it comes to preparedness and our classroom management. If our materials aren't ready, how can we expect to teach? So if we have 45 minutes of scheduled instruction time, taking out 10, 15, 20 minutes to get everything ready for us to actually start our lesson for the day, we're doing ourselves a disservice and we're doing our young artists a disservice by not giving them the full time. And you definitely don't want to take away that outside or recreation time.
Next up, we're going to be talking about how being productive can help with classroom management. When we think of productivity, it is actively involving your young artists in constructive, engaging, and valuable instruction that will lead up to your culminating project. Remember, that's what we're doing each semester. we have a final project, and we believe in project-based learning, that community work. So basically, we should be using that project to kind of guide our goals. So first of all, setting up teaching goals and executing them. As I explained, I can't say that my end goal is to have a chess tournament if I don't set up those smaller goals in between that time. So, how do I set up the board properly? How does each one of these pieces move? And talking about all those goals. Well, reaching those goals and setting those goals and executing them helps me with productivity, which is going to help me with my classroom management. Kids feel, our students feel that progress happening because they're like, oh, well, at first, I didn't understand what chess was at all. Now I know how each of these pieces move. Now I can actually play a game. So setting that up will help them become more excited about specific what they're learning. Use your curriculum as a framework to guide your creativity. All right, so we have that ability, as Mr. Dillon spoke about before, to adjust our curriculum on the fly. Use that curriculum to help you with your creativity, right? So if you know that you have an ultimate goal that you want to get to, how can you use your weekly curriculum to help get to that goal? Youth voice. Youth voice is huge. If students feel like they are a part of the process and they've helped come up with this project, they're going to be more excited about it. I want to use an example of one of our kindergarten teachers. Maybe she's pre-K. I know it's one of those, but she teaches theater production, and I've noticed how she is all like she can work with a group of middle schoolers and come up with a decent project or something for pre-K students. But the reason why she's so successful is because she believes in youth voice. She sits those kids down. She says, "What do you want to do? I am a theater instructor. What do you want to do? All right, y'all want to do a Barbie movie? We're doing a Barbie movie." And she creates that Barbie movie with those students. And the results of that is that when it was time for the culminating project, all of those students were there at the performance. They had told their parents that they wanted to be there. They felt a part of that process. So we want our students to feel a part of the process. Now, some of the things that we have are kind of stricter. So, like with chess, I could have used youth voice a lot to figure out what our daily things are going to look like. But ultimately, as a chess instructor, I needed them to get to that point. But when we have creativity in our photography classes or any of our arts or whatever, let's go ahead and get those students involved and make sure they have a say so in what they're actually learning. Also, I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about our SEL activity list. That is an amazing resource that Community Works provides for us. At the end of this presentation, we're going to give you a list of all of those things that you can access to, but you can access it just by going to the instructor's resources folder and see that SEL activity list. Starting your curriculum off with an SEL activity is number one, required, but number two, it helps loosen those kids up to be more productive, to get those juices flowing. And our students all learn differently. So to have that design 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of your class to warm up is going to help with that classroom management. In terms of productivity, don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of our community leaders are experienced community leaders, and they've been around the block a few times. They can help with this. But we also have a number of other resources like Sensei Dre as an instruction coach. If you're having a hard time with finding productivity, directly ask him to come in, look at your curriculum, and help you out with that. He's there for that reason. Ask your community leader, hey, look, I have this idea. What do you think about doing this? I mean, what do you think about this specific project? Because they can say, hey, they made slime last year and they messed the cafeteria up. So maybe we shouldn't do slime this year. But maybe we should do something differently because they enjoyed slime, but we didn't enjoy cleaning up behind them. And finally, the proof is in the pudding. I used the example of our kinder teacher from DJOD that teaches theater. And the proof is in the pudding. Like, when we were able to see that final project, we saw on a daily basis her taking those students and working on this scene. We didn't know what the scenes were, but she was working on something. And on this day, they were bringing different outfits and they were very excited about it. So if you are doing these things in terms of productivity, your end result is going to be all the proof that you need. It will look like you've been working on this project all this time. And that's what we're about, is presenting that final project and understanding productivity and having those daily goals to get you to that point can help with classroom management. All right. And so talked about productivity. Now, a big one for me is being polite. I think that we need to understand that we have a lot of flexibility in our after school program to make sure that we don't have to be rude or anything, like we're not under any deadlines. We have flexibility so we can be polite. A positive mood makes a positive group. It is much easier to listen to someone you like and or someone that likes you. So another thing in terms of being polite before we get into the specific things is understanding that if we're not excited about what we're teaching, then how can our young artists be excited about it? If I come in there and say, all right, y'all, we're learning chess. I know yesterday y'all didn't like this or whatever, but today we're doing this. No, instead I'm going to say, all right, are y'all ready to learn this new skill that I taught you? How does that feel? Like, and if we're using you voice, it could be something specifically that they talked about, like that they want to learn this specific thing from me as a chess instructor. So being polite goes a long way. Next up, we're going to show a short video from Rita Pearson, and she is going to be doing a TED Talk on how every kid needs a champion. And I want you to think about who you've built a special bond with and how many kids you've been a champion for.
I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for watching that video. Main takeaway is people don't learn from people they don't like, you know, and we have the structure in our after school program that we should kids should be happy when they see us. I mean, think about it. By the time they get to us, they've been in class in a structured environment for 8 hours. I mean, if they get out of their seat without raising their hand, is it the worst thing in the world? You know, if they're talking out of turn, is it really the worst thing in the world? They've had to do that for 8 hours. So, in terms of being polite, start off with rewarding students when they meet your expectations. Something that I like to do is if someone is doing something if they're modeling a behavior that I expect them to model, I like to shout them out. Oh, good job, student A, for following this direction. A good job, student B. And just doing that will make students want to get that acknowledgement. Once you shout out that first person, everyone is starting to look around. Another thing is just award. Like I have a bunch of things in my class where I can give them different coupons, like 15 minutes of free time or no homework pass. So whatever that looks like for your class, then give them, like, if you do a SEL game, maybe they can be the leader that day. All those things, those small rewards can be something that they enjoy. Your expectations should match your students. So if you are asking them to follow a certain rule, you should be able to follow that same rule. So for instance, if it is a talking thing and you shouldn't be talking out of turn or whatever, we have to respect the same thing. We shouldn't be on our cell phones because our students can't be on our cell phones. So just giving that mutual respect is going to help them understand that you're polite and you're following the same rules. Be the teacher that you wish you had. Like, everybody has had good experience with teachers and bad experiences with teachers. Choose the good ones. Like, you know how I felt when a teacher berated you or put you on the spot. Those students are going to feel that same way. But what about that teacher that made you feel warm? So before we move on, I want everybody to take a second and just think about that teacher. Just for 30 seconds, think about that teacher that you will remember and that you can't forget. All right, thank you. So I'm gonna ask you guys to do that so I could have an excuse to tell my story about my teacher that did that. But I want to talk about Dr. Brian. Dr. Brian, unfortunately, is no longer with us. He passed away during COVID, but he was an African American lit teacher at the University of New Orleans. And I just thought he made African American lit so like he made us like enjoy it, and he knew each one of his students. So for instance, if I missed a day of school and I said, "Hey, I'm so sorry, Dr. Brian, I was sick," he was like, "You sure you weren't at that alpha party yesterday?" And I'm like, "Oh man, this man knows where I was because there was a party on campus." But more than anything, he made connections to what he was teaching, to my personal life. And I remember, like, when I finally got it and he celebrated that, I remember how that made me feel. And I was an adult at that time. But I remember saying, "Oh, this is what you mean by this," and making that connection, and just how good that made me feel. Now, I was always what I called a smart student in school. So I was always getting A's and B's. But it wasn't until I was in college that Dr. Bryant took that time to make me feel special. And I still remember him today. Um, Give opportunities for growth, right? These students are not going to come in on the first day following the rules, and they also are going to have some bad days. We all have bad days, but we have PTO that we can use. We can call home early. These students don't have that outlet, and we can provide that for them through our community works program. So if someone's having a difficult day, we can let them have that difficult day. Maybe they sit out for 10 minutes, but that is not when we go and make them feel really bad about what they've done. They've had a bad day. They have an opportunity to recover, and maybe they should do a think sheet or have a conversation about some of their actions. But we really shouldn't be holding them out of the fun things because that only worsens the blow. And I talked about this in the previous slide. Enjoy what you teach. Be excited about what you're teaching. If you are not excited, the students are not going to get excited. You all everybody was brought on because of their specific expertise. And we need all of that for Community Works to survive. So everybody has to understand how their specific discipline plays a part in the overall vision of Community Works. And you are here because you are an expert in that field. Be excited about it. We have a teacher at DJOD, the after school program, that is like doing a bunch of different art projects. But it's like, if those students miss that day, they're telling their parents, like, today we're making a mask in Mr. Lincoln's class, and I can't miss that, right? They're excited about what that stuff is that they're doing because he's excited. He's like, oh my God, we're going to get these cool masks, and this is one that I made. This is how yours will look. So they're excited about it. And I've seen this work with third graders in his class and sixth graders in his, that he's taught. So it's like, it's universal. When you like what you're teaching, they're going to enjoy it also. And the last thing that does not hurt, smile. It does not hurt to smile. That is a universal language. And so is a frown. So think about what face you're showing your kids on a daily basis. Remember, if there's a kid that has done something to make you frown, then we should be doing some other things, like maybe talking to the community leader to talk about some different interventions. But let community leaders and other support help with that. You are there to deliver that instruction, and we want them to be happy and feel comfortable with you. So leave that up to the other people that are not there to do that. And remember to smile. It goes a long way.
Now, last but most certainly not least is number 5, which is position. So an important thing to think about with position as far as classroom management is, where am I when I teach? And where are my students when they learn? So thinking about what this looks like in day-to-day classroom operations is, where are young people when they learn? So I'm going to skip to the next slide real quick, and then we'll circle back. So for a chess class, where it's typically once you get past the intro stage of learning about pieces and kind of learning as a group, it's like basketball, right? We can't really go much far past the basics until we get to actually playing the game. So in the top left corner, we have the desks and students paired up, kind of facing each other in separate groups and using position to kind of move around that class. So we're observing, okay, I see someone's doing well over here. I can see this game ended quickly. Maybe we have some students that are loud, or some may say disruptive, on this side, and we can address that in that specific area. Whereas with a dance class, these desks should hopefully all be out of the way, and we're all focused in the center of the class as a group, right? So we may be teaching from the middle, where yes, we may leave an opportunity for something to go on in the background, but we have a 360 view of everything that's around us, and we are the center of our teaching. Now, for something else like photography, where we may be outside, or things like culinary, where there's a lot going on, perhaps teaching towards the corner of the class or all the way in the front, in the center of the front of the class, allows you to view all your students at once and address individual issues, not picking someone out or making someone feel out of place, but moving to that area. So I'm going to give an example with the bottom right corner. So let's say we have a group of students in this back right corner of this classroom, kind of being disruptive or messing around, doing something they're not supposed to do, what have you. And we're up here teaching at the front. What we can do is use our position as an instructor to move towards that area of the class. And I mean, it's just like in your house and you're right next to the AC, or you're right next to the heat when it's cold. The closer you are to that vent, you're going to feel that heat. So we don't need to single out students saying, hey, student A, you're doing this wrong, you need to stop, and that making them feel even more secluded, having more of a reason to act out. We can just go to that general area and make a remark to the whole class. Hey, everyone, we're learning about this. If you would like to do something else, please let me know. But if not, we're staying on task, we're staying focused, and we're staying productive. So it goes both ways, right? Location, location, location. And a good thing about this is staying ready so you don't have to get ready. It's one of my favorite sayings. But proper position limits redirection. So using where you're teaching from, where your young artists are learning from, can cut out a lot of those interruptions, behavioral problems, bathroom breaks, anything like that. So if you know there's that kid that always gotta go, and it seems to be every 10 to 15 minutes, let's maybe sit them next to the door of the classroom or the learning area, so that if they need to go, they can go. Because one thing for me is, if you ask me to go to the restroom, I'm gonna say yes, and you don't ever have to ask me that again. Because we all remember having to go, and that teacher would never pick you when you're raising your hand when it's not a question, it's a bio break or a bathroom break. Seating charts is an easy way to limit those redirections using positioning in your classroom management. So if we have a group of students that they're best buds, but they may get a little bit louder or may cause a lot of disruptions, you don't want that to ruin the learning of the whole class. We talked about how consistency is key. So you don't want to make drastic changes in the middle of the learning process. So you may say, okay, starting next week, you, and you, we're going to split y'all up, or not even splitting them up specifically or letting the class know that, but having a seating chart where, okay, you four will be together and we have that group separated so that we can all learn better, and then giving them that opportunity in the future to rejoin with your friends or maybe have an open seating chart. So we give them that opportunity for growth using that positioning. Another thing is supplies. So the worst thing is when one of our young people may get a bobo or scratch themselves, or let's say they have a nosebleed in the middle of the class and it's like, what's going on? Do I get tissue paper, toilet paper? Do I tell them to go to the bathroom? Do I call my CL? What's going on? It's chaotic, right? At DJOD, there are kind of classroom kits on the back of every door. So we know that we may be outside or in the classroom and someone, takes the safety scissors and scratches himself, or that one kid that seems to bleed a little bit easier than the rest of them, we know that we have our gauze, our Band-Aids, our antibiotic, all that stuff. It's right on the back of that door, so we don't have to worry about what happens in that moment. Goes back into preparation. Another thing is, where are our bathrooms? Where is the water fountain? If our students have their bags somewhere else, where is that at? Where is our CL? Having that proper position and that proper locationing comes into all aspects of classroom management, and it absolutely leads to better instruction and really goes into the rest of the 5 Ps.
Throughout this whole PD, we've talked about the 5 Ps and how we can use that for classroom management. There's also sometimes that we need to get our students' attention quickly, and we're going to talk about some of those things and how we can use them in our class. Typically, like with call and response, just think about like Simon Says. And if I say Simon says stand up, they should stand up, right? It should be some kind of motion. So when we think about like our call and response, it can be a number of things, but we're going to talk about some of them. One that I like to use in my class is I go, which means I am looking for your attention, and I may, which means you have my attention. So that would sound like, I go.
I may.
I go.
I may.
All right. Another one is, and I will just keep saying that until I get their attention. Another one is, if you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. Sometimes I mix it up and say, if you can hear my voice, please turn your voices off. Another one is, 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me. And they say 1, 2, eyes on you. And then another one, sometimes you can have fun with it. Like, so my last name is Theodore, and I took some childhood trauma and turned it into some good. When I was young, people used to make fun of my name by saying Elvin, Simon, Theodore, do, 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 do. So I always hated the Chipmunks because of that reason. But now I use it to get my class attention. So if I say Alvin, Simon, they respond by saying Theodore, and then they know that is to get up. Now I use that for like when I need to move quickly. So it's like I've gotten some kind of emergency through my text message that we got to get out of the classroom. There's a fire drill. Or I have to move quickly because my lesson went over. I'll say something like that to get them quickly. Another one is 21. And then they respond, can you do something for me? Your goal with attention getters is to get their attention, right? There's a lot of times that they're having a lot of fun and they're focused on whatever is happening. So if we think chess and I want to teach them a new move, they're in the middle of a game, I can use those calls and response to get their attention immediately. Or you have an art class and it's time to pack up. You want them to start packing up. Using those attention getters can help out with that.
And just to add on to what Mr. Theodore was talking about, the least effective attention getter of all time is be quiet, stop talking, or those two words that I can't stand the most, shut up. Having these attention getters set up at the beginning of the class day, the week, even throughout the whole instructional time, throughout the whole semester. This is a positive way, going back to that politeness, to have a relationship, to build a relationship with your students in getting that attention. So instead of saying hush or be quiet, saying that 4, 5, 6, 7 times and it's still not working, these are quick, simple, and easy ways to get their attention.
All right, so that concludes our PD on classroom management. But what is a good PD without an exit ticket? So we want to make sure that you guys retain what we need you to retain from this PD, and then talk about some resources as we close out this PD. Our first question is, what are the 5 P's of classroom management? Is it A, proper, B, prepared, C, prompt, D, punctual, E, perfect, F, productive, G, position, or H, polite? There's 5 of them because it's called the 5 P's of classroom management. Let's take about 15 seconds to think about that and we'll go over the answers. All right. If you guessed B, prepared, C, prompt, F, productive, G, position, and H, polite, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the shoulder. Kiss your brain. You're smart.
All right, so this will be a little multiple choice. So if I have materials to set up for my class today, I should A, walk in at arrival time and prepare my materials then. B, wait until I can get my materials tomorrow. It'll be okay. No one's going to make a big deal about it. Let's just wait till tomorrow. C, arrive a few minutes early and have my materials ready for my students. Or D, ask my community coordinator to give my materials. I always love that one. But we're going to give you guys a few seconds and come back with that answer. All right, so for my big brain individuals, if you guess C, you are correct. So with our report time, it does give us that 15 minutes to prepare, to get ready, to get everything we need together. And this especially comes into around our culminating time and when we have big projects that require a little bit of extra materials or preparation on our end to make sure that we're ready by the time our students come in. So walking in at arrival time, it's a dangerous game, right? It's a flip of a coin. Maybe they came a little bit early today because they had an easy day at school and dismissal might be starting a little bit early. Wait until I can get my materials tomorrow. Yes, sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not, but you don't want to take that chance and then you miss out on a whole day of instruction just because you didn't want to come a little bit early. And lastly, asking my community coordinator to give materials. There's nothing wrong with that, but the thing is, your CC, your CL, they might be busy. They might have a crazy thing going on. They may be talking to a parent or dealing with something else where they might not be able to get to you right when you need them. So arriving a few minutes early and having your stuff ready for your students is always the best way to go about, and that goes into our preparedness and our promptness for classroom management.
And our last question is, students will learn from teachers that they don't like if they are well prepared and prompt. Give you about 5 seconds to answer that question. All right, and if you answered false, you are correct. Even if you are well prepared and prompt, if students don't want to come to your class because they feel that you are mean or they don't feel safe, they won't learn. Or even if they do learn some things from you, they won't get the full benefits of your class. Remember, you are a teaching artist, so you're bringing your discipline to these students. And again, we want to be excited about it. We want to make sure that we are polite. Takeaways. What we want you to do, what we want you to get from this PD is that these tools that we're giving you are not one size fits all. You must adjust them when needed. In terms of class, like the position, for instance, that we talked about, like that's going to have to adjust based on the type of classroom you have. Also the students that you have, if they can handle sitting in those groups, then you might want to do that. But if they can't, you might want to adjust. So all these things, these are suggestions, but if you're looking for more ways to how you can cater this for your specific classroom, please contact the PD leaders. Also, ask for help when you need it. We talked about that before. Like if some of this stuff is sounding foreign to you, we understand. You are brought here because you are a teaching artist, and we can give you those tools on how to manage these classrooms. So please use those resources. Your community leader, myself, Mr. Dillon, our Sensei Dre, any of those can help. And the last thing is share your successes with your colleagues. We have a student that we've been working with for 3 years, and one of our music instructors worked with him first, and he is a student that he has like some sensory issues, like loud noises are a problem for him. And so when we were sharing our successes at the end of the year, that music teacher told us about like his strategy, which is when there's any kind of loud assignment going on, he has headphones for him. He sits him outside so he can have a different activity. So understand those successes with that student help us prepare for him when we had him next year. And now there's almost no issues behaviorally out of that student because we met him where he was. So share your success with your colleagues on Slack and just share, hey, look, I tried this strategy from the PD and it worked. Let us know if it didn't work and what we can do from there. And finally is our contact information. If you have any questions or need further assistance from this PD, I am Damien. My email address is damien@communityworksla.org. And
I am Dylan, and my email is Dylan, DYLAN, @communityworksla.org. Thank y'all so much for sticking through this PD with us, and we hope you have successful classroom management and a great semester. Thank y'all.
And if you can choose to be anything, choose to be great.